Rudy Giuliani is telling anyone who wants to know that he thinks the Mueller probe could end by September. That doesn't mean we'll get an immediate report out, let's say on September 2nd, but that there's a timeline here, and one that could be a little sooner than most people thought, or not. Charlie Gasparino on what to make of all that. Hey, Charlie.
Did not think it would end. Well, we should back up. When Rudy was first retained by Trump, he said it would end in 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay, so just keep that in mind. And it obviously is not by his own.
Is this Mueller's people telling him this?
Allegedly. I mean,
allegedly,
because
right?
Mueller's people don't tell anybody really anything,
right,
but maybe the principals and their lawyers. They do not leak. Anything you see from the outside about this probe is generally gathered, stuff that I get from witnesses that were interviewed or lawyers involved in the case.
What do you make of that September 1st? Or could it just suck people into thinking, oh, it's wrapped up, we can calm down?
Well, that makes sense to me, just based on everything that, Roger Stone, from what I understood, was one of the last things that he was going to deal with. He still hasn't been interviewed or indicted yet. Roger came out with some news yesterday that he's not going to be. He could see how Mueller might find something negligible about his business activities to go after him on, but not Russian collusion. So you get the feeling that, based on what witnesses are hearing, and some of this is inference, and that's how I reported last, that it looks like it's wrapping up, that it's winding down. Now, obviously, these sort of probes can stay semi-active for years, depending on what they find. But it looks like at some point, the Mueller is saying, it's coming to an end. I will say
another point, just to understand this, because people want to know, well, does that mean it's over for the president? He's not a target. This will be persuasively concluded that way on September 1st, or what does that mean? I
think probably on the obstruction case, and I don't think the collusion, and it seems like they're not finding much of collusion involving him directly, maybe other people. But, it's interesting. The probe could simply be collusion of people in his near inner circle, people like Flynn. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying this is and that he was trying to cover that up when he found out about it. That's a significant case. The other thing I would say is on this whole thing about a spy and a mole, or whatever they're calling this guy, an informant. I've covered so many FBI cases. This is so routine that you put somebody in the target's midst, that you try to get him. It's so routine, they actually sometimes wire these guys up. I don't know if this gentleman was wired up when he spoke to Carter Page, but when you have enough evidence to trigger a FISA warrant from a judge, when you have an active investigation like this was an active investigation, it is not unusual to have an informant try to get inside that campaign if they believe there were people in that campaign.
So all the others, and Giuliani and others, said this is an unprecedented breach of the FBI's authority.
Rudy, when he was U.S. attorney, did far worse.
So if you have someone, an entity, just sniffing around a campaign from the FBI, whatever his purported role is,
remember
you don't find that.
Remember the levels of investigation.
And what are they sniffing around for?
So here's the thing:
impropriety or a crime.
Here's the thing: they have a FISA warrant out on, I think it's been public, Carter Page, correct? Right. That they can investigate his ties to Russians and his involvement with the campaign. Once you have established that level, getting an informant in there is
so routine. We got to go back to the fall of 2016.
Right.
The race is on. It's looking like Hillary Clinton is going to win. Some things have come up on authorities' radar, the FBI's radar,
Carter Page,
radar,
and the other guys.
And this would complete that. This would be, well, let's check it out, knowing full well the risk of doing that if it ever came to light?
If they have an official investigation going on where they have some belief that the Russians have infiltrated or colluded with somebody in that campaign, that foreign influence inside that campaign, even if it's at the level of Carter Page, Papadopoulos.
So when you said that this is routine and it happened before, I never remember it happening.
It's never happened in a campaign because they never investigated foreign influence in a campaign like this. But it happens in every white-collar case I've ever covered. It just happens.
Oh no, well, in corporate, that I can see. But I never remembered a presidential campaign, unless that's going to come to light now.
Well, who knows? I mean, when was the last time they investigated foreign influence in a campaign?
Did you find nothing untoward or weird about it?
Not if they have reached the bar to launch an investigation.
No, whatever their justification, I'm saying I agree. If they obviously felt to do something.
If they felt that there was enough here to do an official investigation, that there was contacts made by people inside the campaign, namely Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, and there was another gentleman whose name I forget, if they have that, and they actually do because they had FISA warrants, they convinced the judge.
But they would have to know even the appearance of that, sending someone in to look around.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't.
I understand.
Necessarily know.
Do you think the higher-ups would have known that this was going on, that they have sent someone to infiltrate the campaign?
Generally, the guys doing the investigation tell the higher-ups that we have.
Would that go all the way up to President Obama?
No, it would stay generally within the Justice Department and the FBI, and they wouldn't have to tell.
It wouldn't go up to the Attorney General? And the Attorney General wouldn't tell her boss?
It depends on the level of the investigation, like how serious it was. Because I'm only telling you this based on my.
I was concerned that Barack Obama was tapping his phones. This isn't tapping his phones, but it is mixing up.
Listen, when Preet Bharara, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, was doing, I'm just giving you an analogy, doing the white-collar investigations of insider trading, there were a bunch of witnesses that were basically wired up.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure he knew about those wired up people. I'm pretty sure that he had some more like a passing knowledge.
But this is very different. This is immersing yourself in a presidential campaign to decide the next commander-in-chief, the most powerful person in the free world.
Listen, there's two ways of looking at this. The deep state wants to get rid of President Trump, therefore they spied on his campaign. And
then you have to wonder how much of that, from whatever they retrieved from that individual, on top of the Steele memo and everything else, became the basis of this investigation.
Absolutely. But look at it this way. It's either, if you believe it's the deep state that was looking to oust President Trump, which they never did, by the way, they allowed him to win. They didn't plant stories on him, which they could have right up to the end. If you believe that, I could see where you're saying this is really, really bad. If you believe that the Justice Department and the FBI, at a level where they had sufficient evidence that Russians were colluding with the Trump campaign, that they needed to check it out and at least put an informant in there to figure out if it was true, then this is completely and utterly justified, and it happens all the time. I'm just telling you, that's what you have.
I think you're wrong on the happens all the time.
No, in terms of investigations, it happens all the time.
There's a very big distinction when talking about presidential elections.
Well, we'll just see, Mr.
Smarty Pants.
But when was the last time the Russians? When was the last time the Russians infiltrated a campaign? We don't know. Maybe they did Obama's campaign.
Like this is common behavior.
Well, is it common for
you sold your country down the drain?
Is it common?
I'm not going to do that.
Is it common for the President of the United States to say, hey, hack those emails, guys, and help me win? I mean, it was.
Why did you veer into James Cagney?
Hey.
All right.
Stop. Hack the emails.
All right.
I want to win.
More on this.